What's up guys, Cloudie here checking in from the America server, and today I wanted to talk about the new patch that was released on the servers yesterday, but it literally only contains Hilda and her story dungeons, so there isn't really that much to talk about other than Hilda herself, so might as well make this like a pre review of her. Not gonna go too deep into her stuff yet because she hasn't been tested on any endgame content so far, but we can go into her skills, her items, and see how she actually looks and behaves like. So this is her in-game art, not too bad. I still would have liked some more armor on her actually. This is her weapon, which looks cool, but this is actually not her unique weapon. Her unique weapon is the darker version, which I think looks like someone said a canoe paddle. I think it was Twe actually on his stream. So yeah, I do agree. But okay, let's quickly check what skills she has and how she functions. So let's see. Her skill 1 is a Void Whirlwind that does AoE damage for 12 hits, and it reduces target's mana. It's also 3 mana and has a fairly long cooldown. Her second skill, the Transcendent, and many people believe that she works like Chase because of this, and to some degrees she does. So what it does, it dispels all effects from herself, negative effects, and does some damage, and she goes into this Transcendent state where she gains CC immunity and inflicts void stacks with her attacks. Also, the damage of her auto attacks is tripled, but she cannot use any skills during this, and she loses mana constantly. This starts out at 100 mana per second, but if you leave her in this state long enough, I have tried it on the dummy, it goes up all the way to 5000 mana per second, so she definitely cannot maintain that forever, not even with her UT2, but we will get into that later. On top of that, she also does some healing reduction on enemies, so we can expect that this will be something we see in chapter 10. Mana and healing reduction might be needed. We will see about that, how that goes. But yeah, basically, I think the idea is that you go into this state, stack up your void stacks, and then go to skill 3, which is Void Strike. And Void Strike, what it does is it deals damage, plus it deals extra damage based on the number of stacks that you have. Now, this also is a fairly long cooldown and takes a lot of mana. Yeah, so far her skills kind of look like she's a sort of amalgamation of Theo, Chase, and Kirze in one character. How well that works out, we will see. And then finally her Void Frenzy mechanic. She receives a basic attack bonus, which is not too high, not too bad. We have seen other characters who get a lot more. Applies all mana recovery at 50% higher. So I reckon this works both for MP per attack and MP per second, but we need to verify that. And increases depth penetration by 100 per 1 orb of mana she has. So at 5 orbs she gets 500 depth penetration. At maximum mana she enters this Void Frenzy state for 10 seconds. And in this Void Frenzy, her attacks cannot be blocked, and her depth penetration is fixed. Now this is saying it's fixed to 1000 mana per orb, but this is actually a translation error. Is fixed to 1000 depth penetration, so she doesn't get 6000 penetration with 6 orbs, she just gets 1000 total. So from 500 depth pen she doubles it up to 1000, and this lasts for 10 seconds, and the cooldown of this effect is 15 seconds, but it starts the moment she enters this phase. You can test this out on a dummy where she is always having maximum mana. After she drops out of this 10 seconds phase, 5 seconds later it will start again. But of course you need to reach maximum mana for this to work, so outside of dummy fights this might be a little bit hard to achieve. And based on her skills, yeah, I think my understanding of her is that you will be using Transcendent to stack up her void stacks, then switch out of it, get maximum mana, get into Void Frenzy, and then Void Strike. So that at least for bosses, I believe this is what her intention is. But let's just see how this plays out with her Transcendent skills. So Skill 1 has a mana recovery option. I think this might be PvP-ish maybe. And it has a CC immunity. So again, maybe PvP uses. I don't think she will be using this perk unless you really have nothing else to use for her. Now, Transcendent Light, so the chase type of perk, increases her attack speed by 500 for this state. Remember that her auto attacks are doing triple damage during this, so this should be pretty nice, and also let you stack up your stacks a lot faster, so this could be pretty good. Her other perk, Transcendent Dark, takes reduced damage. PvP, probably. I do not see using this anywhere else. Probably a PvP thing where she CC immune, does a lot of damage, takes a lot less damage. Could be good. And now her Transcendence 3 dispels positive effects. Again, I think a PvP thing, but this is a 20-second cooldown, so not useful that much. And the other one increases damage by 40%. I think this will be her main nuke for bosses, so I would pick this one. Void Frenzy changes the cooldown of Void Frenzy to 7 seconds. Again, kind of hard to keep yourself at maximum mana because her skills are pretty mana intensive. And if you are keeping her in Transcendent, then you are losing mana constantly anyway. So I don't really see the use of this one yet, maybe in Chapter 10 with the new gears. But then there is this one, it increases damage dealt to bosses by 50% during Void Frenzy's state. Now this one looks a lot nicer, especially because she doesn't have any non-hero damage in her kit at all. And as we know, the OP heroes always have either boss damage or non-hero damage or both. So I would definitely pick this one. And then finally, Void Stack becomes irremovable, so if there are cleansing monsters, this could be nice, or for PvP. And normal attacks have a 25% chance to inflict 1 Void Stack. So could be good if you can stack fast enough during your Transcendent phases. May or may not be necessary to actually pick tier 5 Dark for her. So definitely would pick this one. Now the challenge I see here is that you need to go into a state that depletes your mana, then shift out of it because you cannot use any other skills during this state. Your mana bar is locked or your skill bar is locked to disable Transcendent. And then you need to enter Void Frenzy, which is from having maximum mana, and then you need to cast your Void Strike to actually deal boss damage. And since this is tied, this Void Frenzy is tied to your mana bar, this becomes a bit harder to time for those 10 seconds burst phases that we have talked about before, which we often see with bosses. So that's why we kind of need to test this more in depth, whether she's viable or not. And since a lot of her damage is coming from those stacks, that's something we have already tested with dummies, you can't really just oddly reset and go again. But you could probably use oddly mana refilling ability to instantly trigger Void Frenzy if you are not on cooldown. So yeah, I think her gameplay will not be that user-friendly, will be a bit more tricky. And I think on auto she also tends to switch out of this frenzy form, so may not be that good for repeated battles, because there you would just want her to auto everything that comes her way and kill it that way. So definitely she gets speed and she gets penetration from her passive, she gets some attack, so probably you would want her to be attack build and crit cap build attack, and then let her passives sort speed and penetration. But then again, speed only works while she is in Transcendent form. So this is my basic impression of her. Let's just quickly check her gears, what we can have for her. If you go to the index, item index, and her unique weapon should be here. So increases her attack by 10% and heal rate by 10% when she's in Transcendent state, and by default. And when she's in Transcendent state, this is doubled. So at the maximum amount, she gets 50% attack and 50% heal rate. I'm not sure where you need the heal rate. The only thing I can think of is like Eclipse, where you get the constant healing reduction, but this might be a chapter 10 thing or the new raid thing, we'll see. All in all, this is not terribly OP, it doesn't have that much to it, 50% attack, nothing else, and only in Transcendent state, so not sure what the intention is with her in this case. Let's check her unique treasures. Let's see. So this is Void Strike skill 3. Increases the damage of the Void Strike and increases the number of stacks to 40. So now doubles the number of stacks and you do more damage. And if you start this up, you can get 50% more damage, and you can also get more damage from the tier 3 skill or perk. So I believe for bossing this will be the UT that you use, because this is the one that would probably be the biggest damage during those 10-second bursts, especially if you can tie it with Void Frenzy, which gives you that yummy 50% boss damage. But let's see what else she has. If we go on, this should be... Now this is another interesting unique treasure, because this is for her skill 2, and it decreases the mana cost of keeping up her Transcendence state, so she can stay in that one longer, and increases the damage of normal attacks. So while she's locked into her auto attacks, she will drain mana slower, and keep up the Transcendent phase longer. But then again, auto should switch her out, or if you put her on auto, that should switch her out of Transcendent form. So kinda weird, because you need to always put it on manually and then leave her to auto. So I don't know. And again, with the constant mana drain, unless you have a lot of mana regen on her, she will never be entering her Void Frenzy state, which drops a lot of damage. So I don't know. But yeah, this could be good for like many stages when you are not necessarily about boss damage, but just clearing stuff fast. So could be good. That's something I've seen recommended. Void Whirlwind, so this is for her skill 1. Each it draws a target to the front of self and inflicts 2 void stacks with a 40% chance. And then this increases the chance, so it sounds a bit like here's one of the Here's unique treasures. Now remember that this is actually many hits with her S1. I think it was 12 hits per skill. So I reckon that this would actually max out her Void Strike or the Void stacks in a single cast if all of them apply to stacks. So you could build some nice burst with it, like S1, S2. It's just and it draws in enemies, so this might have some PvP use as well. You can make her immune to CC during Void Whirlwind. Then she does pull in everyone in range, and then she follows up with a burst S3. So that could be an interesting strategy for burst teams. Maybe she will work like that. I can see that happening. And finally, her UT4 increases her mana recovery, but only by 100%, and this does not go up, and increases the attack by 50% for the duration of Void Frenzy. Now, I don't know if she really needs more attack that way. She already gets some base from her skill 4, she gets some from her unique weapon. I don't really feel like this is terribly good for her. I mean, more attack is never bad. It's just I feel that like you could use other stuff more, like increasing the raw damage of her other skills from this knitting thing. Also funny that I think Hilda has knitting stuff too. Yeah, it kind of looks like that. And this one as well. This might be better, so I would probably either go with UT2 or UT3, or if you want to like cheese burst in PvP, then maybe UT1. Her soul weapon does look alright-ish. It doesn't really do anything fancy. I had a quick look at it. It's there in the character description. So all in all, because she can't really abuse Oddie and doesn't have any inbuilt non-hero damage, it doesn't seem that OP to me. Like, Chase is good because he gains constant increased damage from his S2 on top of being immune to stuff, and he regens all the HP that he loses, so he can keep it up non-stop, and he can use his other skills. Meanwhile, Hilda won't be able to keep up her Transcendent form forever. She doesn't gain any bonuses for keeping it up longer. Her hits are exactly the same from 1 second on to like 2 minutes in. So there is no point really to keep it up too long unless you really want those auto attacks. Of course, in PvP it's nice that she doesn't drop out of it unless going out of mana, even with low health, and she does a lot of damage with auto attacks. Like, that could be painful, but in PvE I don't think that keeping Transcendent phase up too long will be beneficial, especially not against bosses. And yeah, because she can't cheese oddly, or not that effectively, because she will not have any stacks, it might not be that good. Unless you do something like stack up S3 oddly reset, S1 S3 again, maybe, but that's kind of hard to pull off, also considering that you need her Void Frenzy state. So yeah, guys, this is my initial take on Hilda. There is also a pull event for her in the shop if you want her other costume. I think it's quite nice. I like the way it looked. But as always, I'm not advocating for anyone to spend money on the game. So if you want her, get her. We need still further testing with maxed out characters. One of my guilds already has her at 82 plus 15 or something stupid like that. So I'm sure we will be hearing numbers soon enough. But this is my initial take. So she doesn't look as OP as the recently released characters, which is kind of strange because it reminds me of that meme where when you fight a boss, how it looks like when you fight a boss and when you obtain them as a character. I'm sure you know that meme. But okay, guys, so this has been my take on Hilda. We will be back with more info once we have tested her more. Until then, this has been Cloudie. See you in the next one. Bye bye.